This briefing is unclassified. I have two distinct issues to talk about. The first one is going to be the notion of good enough for government work. Anyone who's worked in government service will be familiar with this maxim. What it means is that so long as whatever you've said is not so wrong, or whatever you've done is not so bad that it gets noticed, that's good enough for government work. I have mentioned in a previous video about the criminal history database that exists within the NCIC and how every year, every query of that system that is done is audited by FBI. What I did not mention is how cursory that auditing process actually is. The FBI generates a list of criminal histories done by each agency, and they say, okay, auditor, go to the agency and see what the deal is. The auditor goes there and goes, all right, show me your ledger. It'll just be a little sheet, and it'll say, okay, here's case number whatever, requesting whoever authorized the criminal history, and that's about the extent of the inquiry. They don't actually go through all of these and make sure that there really exists a physical case that the police were actually investigating at the time, that someone filed a complaint, there was a crime that happened that the police were looking into. They just look at the list for the most part and go, oh, okay, there's a case number that exists, someone signed it, good enough for government work. There really does exist a case that supports this particular query of that particular system and the extraction of this particular data. These kind of received wisdoms in government are ubiquitous. If you take, for instance, it's a received maxim in law enforcement that no two human fingerprints are identical. No one actually knows this. It's not been demonstrated. We have a very small fraction of fingerprints of people that have been recorded. Almost the overwhelming majority of people who exist, fingerprints are not recorded in any database, so they can't be compared. It's just a conjecture that no two human fingerprints are the same. But assume for a moment that no two human fingerprints are actually the same. There's a further extension of this, which is to say that no two portions of any two fingerprints are the same. And that simply doesn't follow, even if it is true, that in total no two human fingerprints are the same. Let me explain to you this way. You'll have a database of fingerprints that are pristine. These are the ones like when you go to the police department and say, hey, I want you to record my fingerprints for something. These are very carefully taken by people who are trained in how to properly apply the right amount of pressure in the rolling ink, or if it's digital, however it happens to be. So that way you get a pristinely preserved print in full. You know, from one side to the next. Well, the problem is that people don't interact with objects in the real world that way. They don't very carefully take their own fingers. Oh, here's a doorknob. I want to make sure that every finger that touches it leaves my full detailed print that's not disturbed in any way, just in case. No, you touch it and there's a little bit of smudging here. It'll just be a little part of the pad of the print. And to the diagnostic sensitivity of the latent print, the one that'll be lifted from some doorknob or some surface out in the world, will be compared against any portion of a fingerprint that exists. And so what happens is, these two conjectures conspire to, from time to time, wrongly implicate a person in doing a misdeed that he's not actually done. It doesn't happen very often, such that I know, but it does happen. So what happens is, for instance, maybe just this little segment of my fingerprint here might match some segment of someone else's fingerprint. And to the diagnostic sensitivity of the person doing the analysis, they'll go, okay, here are however many points in common on this fingerprint, and that matches, that's very similar or matches another print. Therefore, the person that left this print has been 100% verified to be the same person whose print we have on file. Simply doesn't follow. Anyway, take all that into your stride, and then consider what Congress creatures are saying about NSA. The NSA has this auditing process for its file, and it has there will be some assumptions built into that system, which won't be known, and they won't be rigorously checked. There'll just be assumptions that are taken as givens. Like, for instance, that the people who are working there are generally honest. Could be true, could be false. It won't be gotten behind. Moreover, they're telling you, they're representing to the public, we're really behind this, we're really on top of this. However, you couldn't know that this program existed, and you certainly don't get to check anything in your file, and you certainly can't even know what files do or do not exist. That's classified. But trust us, we're really on top of it, we promise. And, more to the point, and this is the second of the two issues, is not simply that these programs exist, though that's problematic. Put that off to the side for the moment. Just assume for the moment that these programs are really great ideas, best ideas since sliced bread. It's not their existence that is problematic with respect to this issue. It's where they live in the government that's problematic. It is now the case in the United States that this information is under the control of an Army general. If FBI or Department of Homeland Security want access to these data, if they want to query this system, they have to go hat in hand to a military commander to get his consent to have the system queried. Whereas in the ordinary course of affairs, it's the military who have to go hat in hand to the civilians to get help, not the other way around. And this is a problem built into the system that's just kind of glossed over by the talking heads. It should be a significant event for people to realize that there exists information with respect to the civilian administration of a government and a society led by civilians, by the consent of civilians, to see an Army general claiming, we have access to this information, it's under my control, and people get access to it only when I say so. I can't imagine any possible complications that could arise from the military of a country being able to determine when and if the civilians of a country have access to its programs. There's something fundamentally wrong there. Have a good day.